On your knees, boy! Hands behind your back! Now! Officer Keller slams Marcus Reed, the black groom, down in front of the altar, wrenches his arm until Marcus groans. Should have known your place. Steel cuffs bite into skin. Blood blooms on his crisp white sleeves. Boutonniere crushed under a boot heel. 4 white officers surge into the chapel, uniforms gleaming under sanctuary lights that were supposed to bless a wedding, not a takedown. Harvest Chapel, 4:39 p.m. 187 guests turn to stone. Lieutenant Colin Hart bellows charges into the stunned air. Fraud, conspiracy, forging public records. Marcus's elderly mother crumples in her pew. The bride screams, voice cracking around his name. Then Hart pivots. Sheriff Robert Carson, county sheriff and their commanding officer, stands 20 feet down the aisle, escorting the bride toward them, the woman about to marry the man they're dragging away. That bride is his daughter, the woman promised to Marcus. Every officer hesitates mid-breath. Arresting a black man at his own wedding is one thing. Doing it while your sheriff walks his only child to marry him is another. The warrant is a lie. The paperwork won't hold. The true conspirators will be the ones wearing chains. Stick around to see justice land. Drop a comment if you're furious. For every receipt. 3 hours earlier. Marcus Reed stands before his bathroom mirror, adjusting his bow tie for the 5th time. His fingers won't quit trembling. Not from fear, from a happiness big enough to hurt. In 4 hours, he's marrying Emily Carson, the woman who stayed when his company almost collapsed last year. The woman who nursed his mother through pneumonia over Christmas. The woman who looked past bank balances and saw the man, not the struggle. She saw his potential, not his shortages. Marcus learned his trade from his father. Leonard Reed poured asphalt and laid roads across Georgia for more than 22 years. Broad shoulders, steady grip, taught his son to measure twice, cut once, never cheat a line. Leonard died on a work site in 2012, heart attack at 54. Marcus was 17. Leonard left $60,000 in hospital bills, a widow, and a boy who swore he'd finish the dream. 16 years later, Marcus runs Reed Civil Engineering out of a modest office on Riverside's east side. 4 years in business, 6 employees who trust his word. Every permit filed correctly. Every inspection passed on the first attempt. Every invoice cleared inside 30 days. At 37, he's built the life his father imagined but never reached. His mother, Evelyn, is 71 now, moving slower but still stubborn, still proud, still cheering from the sidelines. Grey hair, soft hands, iron will. Marcus cleared her medical debt in 7 years, grinding 80-hour weeks at a bigger firm before daring to go solo. Every Sunday morning, they occupy the same church pew Leonard once warmed. Every Wednesday night, Marcus repairs whatever failed in her little house. Leaky faucet, sticking window, humming fridge. She calls him her answered prayer. He shrugs and calls it being a son, but his eyes always shine. Emily Carson teaches 3rd grade in Greenfield, 15 miles north of Riverside. 32 years old, patient with kids who stumble over sentences, firm with kids who won't even try. She met Marcus 2 years back at a county forum about the new library renovation. The room overflowed with contractors and politicians. Marcus stood up and spoke 20 straight minutes about wheelchair ramps, sightlines for short kids, and soft daylight for students with sensory overload. Most people scrolled their phones like the meeting was background noise. Emily filled page after page on a yellow legal pad. When it ended, she caught him in the parking lot and asked a single question about ADA compliance. He talked for 10 minutes, hands sketching invisible plans in the air. She asked another question about universal design. He went 20 more. Coffee followed at the diner, then weekend dinner, then a rhythm of shared Sundays. Her colleagues at school don't know her father wears a star. They just know Miss Carson, the teacher who buys extra notebooks and coats out of her own paycheck. She never mentions that her dad is Sheriff Carson. She rents her own small apartment, drives a decade-old Honda Civic, tends plants on the windowsill, tapes student drawings to her fridge. "I need people to know me for my work," she told Marcus on their third date. "Not for my father's badge." Marcus honored that then, and still honors it now. Sheriff Robert Carson has worn law enforcement blues for 35 years. Started as a rookie deputy in 1989, fresh from the army. Posture rigid, standards higher than his pay. Climbed through patrol, then investigations, then administration. Elected county sheriff 4 consecutive terms. Enough time to become legend or a target, depending on who's talking in town that week. His department carries a reputation across Georgia. Disciplined, relatively clean, no headline-grabbing scandals. People who distrust cops in general still grudgingly respect Rob Carson. His wife died 7 years ago. Cancer. 14 brutal months from first biopsy to graveside. Emily is his only child. He's protective without smothering, present without intruding. Shows up to school plays, but never demands a front row. Supports her decisions, even when they scare him half to death. He met Marcus after 8 months of quiet dating. Invited him over for steaks on the back deck. Asked about his business, his long-term plans, his intentions toward Emily. Nothing fancy, just steady, probing questions. At the end of the evening, he shook Marcus's hand, looked him dead in the eye, and said, "You treat her right, or you answer to me." Marcus didn't blink. "Yes, sir, every day." Carson nodded once. Respect planted its first roots. Lieutenant Colin Hart oversees the patrol division under Chief Randall Boone. 45 years old, 21 on the job, former infantry, uniforms razor sharp, tongue sharper. Last year alone, he logged 260 arrests, top of the department by a long shot. 13 citizen complaints about racial profiling in the last 5 years. Every investigation stamped the same way. Unfounded, insufficient evidence, officer exonerated. Hart rarely speaks to the sheriff directly. Different chains, different priorities, different worlds. Riverside County is exploding. 35,000 residents and climbing. New subdivisions creep across fields like kudzu. New schools needed. New sewer lines. New everything. $18 million in the public works budget. Roads to rebuild. Bridges to shore up. Libraries to modernize. Fire stations to expand. Somebody cashes every one of those checks. For decades, that somebody has been Preston Builders, almost by default. Almost like nobody else ever existed. Alan Preston is 58, third-generation contractor royalty. His grandfather poured the foundation for Riverside's first hospital in 1952. His father raised the county courthouse in 1978. Alan has nailed, poured, and paved nearly everything built since. Between 2019 and 2024, Preston Builders snagged 60 county contracts out of 67 total projects. 89% worth $12.3 million. Revenue jumped from $2.1 million in 2018 to $9.4 million in 2024. That's not competition. That's a dynasty. Nobody outbids Preston. Nobody even comes close until May 2024, when the county announces an open competition for the Riverside County Library renovation. Big job. Budgeted at $1.8 million. Expected to last 12 to 14 months. Marcus spends 3 weeks buried in his proposal. Detailed specs, line item budget, contingency plans, quality checks, promises to hire local labor, advantages as a minority-owned firm. He submits $1.76 million, 11 months guaranteed. Preston files $2.1 million, 14 months. Same loyal crew he always uses. June 1st, the county emails Marcus. Subject line, Contract Award Notice. Body, congratulations. Your firm has been selected. He stares, rereads, then laughs aloud. He won. His proposal scores 94 out of 100, the highest vendor score in Riverside history, according to the selection panel. Preston lands at 81. For once, the old guard loses, and the new guy walks away with the Crown Project. Marcus shares the news over Sunday supper at his mother's kitchen table. Same table his father rested his elbows on. Same chipped plates they've washed for 20+ years. Evelyn cries straight into her napkin. Tears of joy, relief, validation. Baby, your daddy is smiling so hard in heaven right now. What Marcus doesn't mention, Lieutenant Hart has cruised past his office 3 times this week, idling at the corner, watching, studying, measuring him like a threat. Marcus noticed the patrol car in his window reflection, but brushed it off as coincidence. It had to be coincidence. Emily mentions one evening that her father asked again about Marcus's contracts during their weekly call. Wanted more details about the library renovation. I think Dad's really proud you pulled a job that big, she says, smiling. She doesn't know her father is also wondering why his patrol lieutenant can't stop bringing up Reed Civil in the morning briefings. Why Hart keeps circling the same contractor like a hawk over a single field. June 15th dawns heavy, 92 degrees by lunch. Feels closer to 100 in full sun. Harvest Chapel has air conditioning, but it wheezes on days like this. Ceremony set for 4:30 p.m. sharp. 187 guests confirmed. Marcus's tux has been pressed twice. Emily's gown hangs in its garment bag like a snow-white ghost waiting to materialize. Perfect and patient. At 3 p.m, Sheriff Carson buttons a charcoal grey suit. No badge on his chest. No pistol on his hip. No radio crackling at his waist. Today he's not the law. He's just a father. These are the last few hours before he walks his only daughter down an aisle and offers her future to someone else. It's the hardest, holiest job he's ever had. Harder than any election night. 4 miles away, Lieutenant Colin Hart zips his dress blues at 3:15 p.m. Checks his service weapon, wipes smudges from his badge until it mirrors his own face back. Slides a pair of cuffs into their slot on his belt. Scrolls through his phone, reviewing the warrant one last time. In his driveway, he briefs 3 officers, Keller, Monroe, Blake. We go in at 4:39 p.m. Ceremony will be rolling. Maximum eyes, maximum impact. Make it clean, make it unforgettable, make it a message. By 4:15 p.m., Harvest Chapel hums with conversation. Laughter ricochets off varnished wood. Anticipation thickens like summer humidity. Marcus's side. 80 guests. Church members who've watched him grow from restless teenager to responsible man. Colleagues from his early engineering days. Small business owners who gambled on his new firm. Emily's side. 107 guests. Teachers from Greenfield Elementary. Family friends who knew her as a toddler. A few county employees who don't realize their boss is her dad. Marcus stands at the altar beside Darius, his cousin and best man, the one who loaned him $5,000 to launch Reed Civil 3 years ago. Reverend Samuel Price, 71, kind eyes behind wire-rim glasses, reviews the ceremony in a low voice. Marcus's hands still tremble, not from doubt, but from emotion too large for his frame. Darius notices and squeezes his shoulder. You straight, cuz? Marcus swallows hard, nods. Best I've ever been. 4:28 p.m. The music shifts. Bridesmaids glide in wearing deep navy dress. 3 women who've had Emily's back since college group projects and heartbreaks. Michelle, her freshman year roommate, closes the line. Next comes the flower girl, Emily's 7-year-old niece, tiny in white lace, scattering rose petals with fierce concentration, tongue poking from the corner of her mouth. Then the ring bearer, Darius's 8-year-old son, carrying their rings on a white pillow like fragile treasure. 4:30 p.m. on the DOT. The music swells into canon in D. Full orchestral recording. Flooding the chapel speakers. Everyone rises together. The rear double doors swing open with rehearsed slowness. Emily appears, haloed in afternoon sunlight. Her gown is simple, fitted, cathedral-length train trailing behind her in ripples. Her arm is linked through her father's. Sheriff Carson in charcoal, no badge, no weapon, no insignia, Just a father in a suit, offering his daughter. They start forward. Traditional tempo, measured and deliberate. One step every couple seconds, 40 feet from doors to altar. Emily's train whispers over polished wood, brushing rose petals to new resting places. Carson's face holds everything a father carries in this moment. Pride so big it squeezes, loss that hollows, love that fills every remaining space. The knowledge that after today, she belongs to her own choices. They are 15 feet in, nearly halfway down the aisle. Marcus struggles to pull a full breath. His chest feels 2 sizes too small. Emily glows under the chapel lights, cheeks flushed, eyes locked on his. 200 phones capture the walk for Instagram stories. Facebook feeds, family chats. Evelyn dabs at her wet eyes in the 3rd row, shoulders trembling. This is the moment. This is the dream realized. This is what Leonard worked toward but never lived long enough to witness himself. 4:31 p.m. everything fractures. The back service doors slam open behind the last pew, not the polished ceremonial doors, but the heavy exits. Bang! Metal on wood, sharp enough to slice through strings and conversation. The music staggers but keeps going, like a runner stumbling mid-stride. Heads turn in sequence, row by row, like dominoes tipping. Confusion washes the chapel, a sudden wind bending tall grass. A different kind of procession is marching in. 4 officers in dress uniform stride, not stroll, into sacred space. Every step has purpose, weight, intrusion. Boots thump against hardwood in a rhythm that doesn't belong in a church. Thump, 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 thump. Lieutenant Hart leads like he's entering a briefing room, not a wedding. Officers Keller, Monroe, and Blake fall in behind, tight formation. Badges catch the light. Gun belts and cuff pouches are visible. Everything about them screams enforcement, not celebration, not blessing. Wrong sound, wrong image, wrong day. The murmurs start immediately. What's happening? Is someone hurt? Are those cops? Is there a threat? Emily's grip tightens around her father's arm, muscles locking on instinct. They're 20 feet down the aisle now, almost exactly halfway. Sheriff Carson's head turns slowly toward the interruption. His expression changes in increments. Puzzlement at the noise, recognition of the uniforms, recognition of the stride, recognition of Hart specifically. His own officer. What in God's name are they doing here? Hart marches straight toward the altar, never glancing left or right. He doesn't acknowledge the sheriff, though he can't miss him. Doesn't nod at the bride, the groom, the pastor, anyone. His gaze is locked forward like radar. Target, Marcus Reed, groom. Black man in a tuxedo waiting at the altar. They reach the front in seconds and fan out in a half circle, claiming the space. It's an intimidation pattern, a tactical footprint. Reverend Price eases backward, palms slightly raised in peacemaking instinct. Officers, this is highly irregular. Hart slices his words in half with a raised hand. That's enough, Reverend. Not another word. His eyes pin Marcus. Marcus Reed. Marcus's answer cracks like thin ice. Yes. Hart projects his voice to the rafters. Marcus Reed, you are under arrest for fraud, falsifying public documents, and conspiring to defraud Riverside County. The chapel detonates with noise, gasps that steal collective breath, shouts of disbelief, a rising wail. No way. This has to be a mistake. He's the groom. You can't do this now. Hart pulls a laminated card from his inside pocket and begins reading. Miranda writes, voice deliberately loud, every syllable landing like a hammer. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. Marcus tries to speak over him. There's some mix-up. I didn't do anything wrong. I filed everything. Hart steamrolls his protest, volume rising. You have the right to an attorney? If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided at no cost. Do you understand these rights as I've read them to you? Officer Keller steps forward, cuffs already snapped open, metal glinting under the stained glass light. Sir, turn around. Hands behind your back. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Emily, still 20 feet away, clutching her father's arm, tries to surge forward, tries to run to Marcus. Carson's hand clamps around her elbow. Wait, just wait. She jerks against his grip. Dad, that's Marcus. They're arresting Marcus. You have to stop them. Carson's voice comes out low, strained, controlled. I see it. I see everything happening. Just wait. But Emily tears free, bolting down the aisle, dress bunching, heels clacking. He didn't do anything. Dad, stop them! You're the sheriff! Make them stop! Keller seizes Marcus's shoulder without a shred of gentleness, spinning him so fast he stumbles into the altar rail. Keller yanks his arm behind his back, hard enough to draw a sharp gasp. The first cuff clicks shut, echoing unnaturally loud. Then the second. 2 cold rings locking around a future. Marcus's hands are pinned behind his tuxedo jacket. On your knees, boy. Keller doesn't wait for compliance. He shoves. Marcus's knees slam into hardwood, a sound that makes people flinch. His white rose boutonniere tumbles from his lapel, drifting to the floor like a fallen promise. Keller's boot lands on it, grinding it flat. White petals smear across the wood. Should have stayed in your lane, boy. The slur hangs in the air like smoke, unmistakable. Evelyn rises in the 3rd row, hand clutching her chest. Her face drains of color. Her knees wobble, then buckle. She collapses sideways into the pew. Guests lunge to reach her. Somebody call an ambulance! Ma'am, can you hear me? Give her space, give her air! Hart pulls a folded document from his pocket and holds it overhead like an exhibit. This is a warrant signed by Judge Franklin Preston, dated June 15th, 2024. Timestamp 2:48 p.m. Everything you're seeing is lawful. Every step is by the book. We're just doing our jobs. Only then does he turn. Sheriff Robert Carson stands frozen halfway down the aisle, 20 feet from the altar, still in the position he held while walking his daughter. Emily has broken away. The ceremony is shattered, but his stance remains rigid. His face is unreadable. His eyes, though, his eyes are not. Hart meets that gaze head-on. Sheriff Carson, sir! 10 seconds of absolute silence. 10 seconds in which the only sounds are Evelyn's ragged breathing, a muffled sob in the back row, and the straining whine of overworked air conditioning. Carson's eyes travel deliberately, from Hart's face to Marcus on his knees, to the cuffs, to his daughter sobbing in white, to the warrant gripped in Hart's fist. He is processing, calculating, connecting. Hart doesn't blink. Sir, we have a valid warrant signed by a circuit judge. I'm executing my duty. Carson's voice is softer than it should be, but there's iron underneath. In the middle of a wedding, Lieutenant. Hart's chin lifts. The warrant doesn't restrict timing, sir. It's valid 24 hours a day. Carson's jaw flexes. Whose wedding, Lieutenant? Hart doesn't move. The suspect's wedding, sir. A man under investigation for major crimes. Carson points at Marcus with a trembling hand. That suspect was supposed to be my son-in-law in 10 minutes. That's my daughter's fiancé. That woman sobbing there, that's my only child. This ceremony you bulldozed? I was walking her down this aisle. I was giving her away. Do you have any idea what you've done? Hart's jaw tightens, but he holds his ground. Sir, I understand the timing is unfortunate. I understand this is your family, but the law doesn't bow to convenience. The law doesn't care about feelings. The law cares about justice. Marcus Reed broke the law. Carson takes one step forward. Just one, but the effect is immediate. Every officer's hand twitches toward their belt. Tension spikes like static before lightning. Let me see that warrant now. Hart passes it over, fingers steady. Carson unfolds it slowly, deliberately, hands shaking anyway. He reads every printed line, every handwritten note. His eyes narrow at the signature block. This says Judge Franklin Preston signed at 2:49 p.m. today, this afternoon. Yes, sir, that's correct. Hart replies. Carson's voice cools. Judge Preston was on the bench until 3:15 p.m. today. I know because I checked his docket this morning. He had the Stevens-Veith County hearing. His chambers are in Glenville, 25 miles north. Carson looks up, gaze sharp as a blade. So tell me, Lieutenant, How exactly did Judge Preston sign this at 2:49 when he was sitting in a courtroom in another city? Hart's tone doesn't waver. With respect, sir, I don't manage court schedules. I execute warrants that appear valid. Judge's signature, case number, official seal. This one checked all those boxes, so I executed it. Carson folds the warrant with precise movements, then shoves it back at Hart. Marcus Reed will turn himself in Monday morning, 8:00 a.m., County Jail. You have my word. He's not running. He's not hiding. You want him Monday? You'll find him waiting. Hart doesn't reach for the paper. With respect, sir, I already have my orders. The warrant is signed. It stands. I'm taking him into custody now. Today. Carson's eyes narrow. Orders from who? Whose bright idea was it to storm a church and drag a man out in front of his family? Hart answers without blinking. From the district attorney's office. From the warrant itself. From the law. The same law you swore to uphold, Sheriff. The standoff lasts another 5 seconds. Sheriff against lieutenant. Elected official against career cop. Father against subordinate. Authority squaring up to authority. Two men absolutely convinced they are each right. Then Carson makes his choice. He steps to the side. Barely moves. Just enough. His voice drops low. This isn't finished, Lieutenant. Not by a long shot. Hart nods once toward Keller. Get him up. We're moving. The decision is made. The damage is permanent. Keller hauls Marcus to his feet by the cuffs. Metal digs deeper into already raw wrists. Marcus strains to turn his head, to snag one more look at Emily. Keller shoves him forward. Eyes ahead, keep walking. They escort him down the aisle he was supposed to walk as a husband. Same 40 feet Emily just traveled toward him. The path meant for rice and applause is now a corridor for humiliation, a live-streamed perp walk. 87 steps from altar to exit. Marcus counts each one because it's the only thing he can control. Guests line the pews like a human gauntlet. Some weep openly. Some film on their phones, hands shaking. Some stare, stunned into silence. Evelyn lies across the pew as 3 women fan her, speak her name, check her pulse. She's conscious now, but barely. Something foundational inside her cracked the moment she saw her son in cuffs at his own wedding. Darius's voice erupts from behind them. This is straight garbage! Marcus didn't do anything! He's innocent! Hart doesn't turn around, doesn't respond, keeps marching with military precision. Marcus passes faces that built his life. Mr. Chen from church, who always sat 2 pews behind his family. His old supervisor from the engineering firm who wrote his first recommendation. The county librarian who congratulated him personally when he won the library bid. A dozen contractors who trusted his word. Their expressions tell the story. Shock, confusion, disappointment, fear. Some are already calculating whether being seen beside Marcus will cost them jobs. Emily runs parallel to the procession, her wedding dress dragging through scattered petals, train darkening with dust. Makeup streaks down her cheeks. Dad, do something! You're the sheriff! You can stop this! Please! But Carson stands in the aisle like a statue, watching his own department break his daughter's heart, watching and not moving, watching and staying silent. They reach the back doors. Afternoon sunlight pours in, burning hot compared to the air-conditioned chill. Heat slams Marcus like a second shove. A squad car idles 30 feet away, engine humming, ready. Lights off but poised. Hart yanks the rear door open. Routine gesture made cruel by context. Keller pushes Marcus's head down, one hand on the back of his skull, and shoves him onto the vinyl seat. The door slams, metal and glass sealing him off from his life. Caged, cut off from his wedding, cut off from everything he was about to promise. At 4:52 p.m., 18 minutes after the first shout echoed through the chapel, the patrol car rolls forward. Marcus twists to stare through the rear window. Harvest Chapel shrinks into the distance. Emily collapses on the front steps, white dress puddled around her like spilled milk. Her father stands over her, arms useless at his sides, not touching, not comforting, just standing. The wedding that never happened gets smaller and smaller until the car turns a corner and it vanishes behind trees and houses. By 5:15 p.m., the first video hits social media. Emily's cousin Marcus, different Marcus, uploads to Instagram and TikTok at the same time. 16 seconds of shaky footage, officers entering, reaching the altar, Marcus forced to his knees, cuffs clamping shut. Caption simple and brutal: they arrested the groom at his own wedding, Riverside County, Georgia. Riverside wedding, justice does For Marcus, system failed. By 5:45 p.m., 12 more clips appear from different phones, different angles, different awful snapshots. One shows the sheriff frozen in the aisle while his own department acts. One captures Evelyn collapsing. One gets crystal clear audio of Hart reading Miranda rights. One catches Keller's line in full: "Should have stayed in your lane, boy." That one goes viral first. No one can pretend they missed the racial poison braided into those words. By 6:20 p.m., Riverside wedding trends across Georgia. 51,000 views and climbing across platforms. Comments pour in faster than anyone can keep pace with. The story fractures instantly into competing narratives. This is exactly what they do to successful black men. Can't let us win. They can't stand seeing us build anything, not even families. There has to be evidence. Police don't arrest people for nothing. Everybody breathe. Wait for the facts. The internet doesn't wait. Another thread focuses on the sheriff. That's Sheriff Carson's daughter. His own officers did this in front of him. Why didn't he shut it down? He has authority. Maybe he doesn't. A warrant's a warrant. Even sheriffs have rules. He did what he had to. That warrant's dirty and everybody knows it. This whole setup stinks. The comments divide almost neatly in half. Half insist Marcus is innocent, targeted for being black and successful. Half assume guilt, because the system, flawed as it is, surely wouldn't arrest someone on their wedding day without serious evidence. People pick sides based on experience, bias, hope, or fear, not facts. No one online has all the pieces yet. They have a handful of seconds from different lenses, one line of poison caught on audio, and a trending hashtag. But in 2024, that's more than enough for everyone to build an opinion and dig in deep. Friends defend Marcus in long threads, listing his late-night work, the way he pays vendors early, stories of free repairs he did for elderly neighbors. Strangers drag his name, demanding mugshots and financial records, convinced no black man wins a county contract without some scheme. Comment wars flare under every video. Some people type all caps about corruption and generational racism. Others shout about trusting the process, backing the blue. No one is interested in being persuaded. Meanwhile, the people at the chapel sit in real-world silence. Petals wilt on the floor. Emily's train is streaked with dirt. Evelyn lies on a paramedic's gurney, oxygen mask fogging with each shallow breath. Darius tries to comfort Emily, while rage burns through him like fire through dry grass. The sheriff steps outside to call the jail. The DA, whoever will answer. Online, the story has already outrun him, outpaced the truth, and rewritten itself into legend. Some commenters zoom in on Keller's boot crushing the white rose. They screenshot it, crop it, slow it down. "This is symbolic as hell," one user writes. "He stomped that man's future." Others analyze Hart's tone, the way he ignores the sheriff in the aisle. You can tell he thought he was untouchable. Deep dive threads appear, pulling court dockets, campaign donations, construction contracts, everything public about Preston, about the sheriff, about county money. Conspiracy maps bloom overnight. A few users claim to know someone inside the department. Anonymous accounts talk about whispers of pressure to keep certain contractors happy. Nothing verifiable, all of it gasoline. People repost old photos of Marcus at ribbon cuttings, of Emily reading to kids in her classroom, of Sheriff Carson standing beside Preston at groundbreakings. They stitch them together like evidence boards. It doesn't matter that half the connections are guesses. The narrative feels true to the people who already believed it. Others plant their feet on the opposite side. If there's a warrant, there's a reason. Judges don't sign off without probable cause. Folks need to stop turning everything into a race war. They point to Marcus's success as proof the system can't be completely rigged. Someone finds an old picture of Marcus at a barbecue where beer bottles are visible and tries to spin it into something sinister. It doesn't stick, but it adds noise. Local news stations start scraping the viral clips for the evening broadcast. Producers argue over which angle to lead with: the cuffing, the collapse, the sheriff's motionless silhouette. Reporters call the sheriff's office for comment and get a bland statement about an ongoing investigation. Lawyers watch from home and smell a civil rights case. Activists screen record everything before any platform can take it down. The wedding guests pass phones around, reading comments about an event they just lived through. People who were never within 100 miles of Riverside swear they know exactly what happened. Some say this is the latest chapter in a centuries-long story. Others say it's an isolated incident where a hard-working cop did his thankless job. The truth is still buried in paperwork, emails, whispered conversations, and one questionable signature. But online, verdicts have already been handed down. There is no jury selection, no voir dire, just followers, likes, and rage. By nightfall, local politicians are quietly drafting statements in case the story grows. The county commissioners email each other, wondering how exposed they are. Preston Builder's office closes early, blinds drawn, phones rerouted to voicemail. At the jail, Marcus sits in an intake cell, replaying every second from the moment the service doors slammed. At her apartment, Emily curls on the couch in a torn wedding dress, scrolling through videos of the worst day of her life. Comment counts tick upward. Threads multiply. National accounts begin to notice the hashtag. Some frame it as a clear-cut example of systemic racism. Some frame it as a clash between personal loyalty and professional duty. Some just see content to farm. Underneath it all, one thing stays constant: the split. Roughly half the people typing believe Marcus is a victim of a rigged game, punished for daring to succeed. The other half believe he's probably guilty of something. They trust the warrant more than the man in cuffs. They trust uniforms more than witnesses. Even sheriffs have to follow the law, one commenter writes. He did the right thing. Another replies, that warrant is dirty, and everyone can smell it from here. The whole situation reeks. But social media doesn't wait for audits or court dates. The comments, nearly 50-50, harden into opposing walls. Nobody has the full story yet. Everybody, absolutely everybody, already has a verdict. Everybody's got an opinion. Marcus sits alone in holding cell B3 at Riverside County Jail, still wearing his tux, dried, rust-colored streaks on his wrists where the cuffs tore skin. They took his belt, shoes, bow tie, watch. Left him only shirt and slacks. The cell is maybe 8 by 10. Concrete painted sickly beige. Metal bench bolted to the wall. Toilet in the corner. No lid, no partition. No comfort, no dignity. 6:30 p.m. A corrections officer appears with a battered corded phone. One call, 5 minutes, that's it. Marcus dials Emily. She picks up before the first full ring. Marcus, oh my God, baby, are you okay? Are you hurt? His voice splinters high, almost adolescent. I don't understand this. I filed everything right. Every document, every permit, every form. I kept copies. I can prove it. I know you did, she says, breath shaking. My dad's on the phone right now, trying to figure out what happened, how they even got a warrant. Marcus presses his forehead to the cinder block. Emily, I didn't do anything wrong. I swear to you. I know. I believe you. Everyone who actually knows you believes you. Her voice breaks again. We're supposed to be married right now. Right this second, we should be at the reception, making corny speeches, dancing to bad music. This was supposed to be the best day of our lives. Silence fills the static. Then Emily sobs, full body crying, struggling for air. Marcus shuts his eyes, clutching the receiver. He wants to hold her, to wake up from this. I'm going to fix this, he says, forcing steadiness he doesn't feel. I promise I'll fix it. Don't promise what you can't control, she whispers. Just stay safe in there. Keep your head down. Don't talk to anyone about the case. I'll come as soon as they let me visit. The guard taps 2 fingers against his watch, impatient. Time's up. Marcus swallows everything he wants to say, hangs up, and hands over the phone. He returns to the metal bench, stares at beige paint, tries to think. Fails. Outside, the story draws blood, and the press pack smells it. By 7, 3 news vans clog the curb. Reporters assemble on the courthouse steps across from the jail, tripods sprouting like metal weeds. Light stands click on. Microphones get tested. This headline is irresistible, too neat, too explosive. Sheriff's daughter. Wedding ruined. Black groom. White officers. Viral videos. Whispers of corruption, racism, power abuse. A news director's dream buffet. Sheriff's daughter's wedding shattered by arrest. Black groom cuffed at altar. They practice taglines between takes. Channel 5 goes first at 7:30 p.m. Breaking tonight out of Riverside County, the anchor says, solemn. A wedding turned into a crime scene when local civil engineer Marcus Reed was taken into custody on fraud charges. He leans in. But this was no ordinary ceremony. The bride is Emily Carson, daughter of longtime Sheriff Robert Carson. The sheriff was literally walking her down the aisle when his own officers executed the arrest. The station rolls footage, only the most dramatic clips. Marcus in cuffs. Emily screaming his name. The sheriff frozen mid-aisle, heart reading from the warrant like a funeral liturgy. Voiceover continues. Reed, 37, recently secured a major county contract, the $1.8 million library renovation. That contract is now under scrutiny. A day statement scrolls across the bottom. We take all fraud allegations seriously. The investigation into Mr. Reed is ongoing. We cannot comment on details at this time. Channel 9 hits at 8:00 p.m. with sharper teeth. Tonight, questions about whether this arrest was appropriate or necessary. Their anchor announces. Legal experts tell us dragging someone from their wedding in front of 200 guests is extremely unusual and raises serious concerns. They cut to civil rights attorney Lisa Monroe. Monroe, composed and precise, faces the camera. When police choose to arrest a man during his wedding in front of his entire community, that's intentional, she says. If they truly had solid evidence, they could have picked him up at home or at work the next morning. This moment, this place, this audience, that's a message. The message is power. The message is intimidation. The message is, remember your place. By 9 p.m., the story leaps beyond Georgia. CNN teases it before a commercial. Groom arrested mid-ceremony while the sheriff, his bride's father, walks her down the aisle. Tonight, what it reveals about race and power in small-town America. MSNBC runs a longer segment in their 9 o'clock hour. Fox mentions it briefly, focusing on a controversial arrest, drawing social media scrutiny. Every outlet picks a frame, a villain, a victim. No one has the full picture yet, but that doesn't stop anyone from coloring in the gaps. Online, the reaction explodes. #Riverside wedding climbs nationwide by 9:30, 3 million views by midnight across platforms. Clips replay on endless loop. Marcus forced to his knees, cuffs snapping shut, Emily begging her father to intervene, Evelyn collapsing, the sheriff standing rooted like stone. Different camera angles, same nightmare. Comments pour in like a flood. The divide grows sharper. They never let us have joy. Not success, not love, not even our weddings, one user posts. This is America. Another counters, you don't get arrested on your wedding day without serious evidence. Stop turning every case into racism. Someone zooms in on the sheriff's face. Look at him. He knows it's wrong. That's his department. Replies clash. Coward. Should have stepped in for his daughter. No, that's professionalism. Law over family. A legal warrant is a legal warrant, one commenter insists. You don't interfere, even for your kid. That's integrity. Someone else fires back. You keep calling it legal, but wait until the whole thing unravels. In his cell, Marcus sees none of it. No phones, no internet, no TV. He stares at concrete and metal. His cuffs have left red grooves that throb with every pulse. His wedding day has ended in fluorescent light and steel. No ceremony, no I do, no ring exchange, no kiss, no first dance, no cake, no getaway car, no honeymoon, just restraints concrete and a bolted bench, and a question echoing louder than the building's hum. Why? At 10:30 p.m. Sheriff Carson walks into the jail lobby and demands the original warrant. The desk sergeant, barely 30, shifts anxiously. "Sir, that's evidence in an active case. I can't just—" "I'm the elected sheriff of this county." Carson cuts in. "This is my building, my jurisdiction, my deputy's warrant served at my daughter's wedding. I'm not asking. I'm ordering you." The sergeant makes a hurried call upstairs. 20 minutes later, Chief Randall Boone arrives, tie loosened, face tight. They head to Boone's office on the second floor, door closing behind them. Voices rise almost immediately, anger barely leashed. "Rob, you absolutely cannot meddle in this investigation," Boone says, hands braced on his desk. "I'm not meddling." Carson snaps. "I'm reviewing a warrant executed by my department at my own family's ceremony. That's my right. It's not your case." Boone fires back. "You're compromised. Too close. You need to back off." "Everything in this county is my case," Carson answers. "Now slide me the damn warrant." Boone studies him for several seconds, then shoves the document across the desk. Carson reads it again, slower, hunting for what he missed earlier under the stained glass glare. Signature line, Judge Franklin Preston. Date, June 15th, 2024. Time, 2:49 p.m. Carson pulls out his phone, opens the public court calendar. June 15. Case Stevens v. Riverside County. Hearing from 2 o'clock to 3:45 p.m. Location, Glenville Courthouse, 25 miles away. He runs the math automatically. That's at least a 30-minute drive, even flying. Preston was on the bench at 2:49 in another courthouse, another town. Signing here, then, is physically impossible. Carson looks up slowly. "This warrant is fake," he says. Boone's jaw hardens. "That's a very serious allegation, Rob." "So is fabricating a warrant." Carson replies. "Preston literally could not have signed when this says he did. It's basic geography. Maybe he signed earlier and the timestamp's wrong. Admin glitch," Boone suggests. "Maybe," Carson says. "Or maybe this entire arrest is garbage from top to bottom." They glare across the desk. Sheriff and chief, elected and appointed, politics and command crashing together. Boone exhales. Even if there's some clerical issue, the warrant's still valid. The charges are real. Reed is under legitimate investigation for serious financial fraud. "Investigation for what?" Carson asks. "Show me the evidence. Show me exactly what you think he faked." Boone shakes his head. "That material isn't public yet. Ongoing investigation." Carson's stare sharpens. "If nobody can see it, maybe it doesn't exist." Boone rises. "Go home, Rob. You're too wrapped up in this. It's your daughter's fiancé. You can't be objective." Carson stands too. "I might be the only objective one here because I actually know Marcus Reed. I've watched him for 2 years. How he runs his business, how he treats people. He doesn't fudge numbers. He doesn't cheat or cut corners. If you've got real proof, show me. If you don't, release him." Boone shakes his head. "Can't. DA wants him held till arraignment Monday." "What time?" 9 a.m. Carson grimaces. "So he sits in a cage all weekend on a warrant that can't exist. That's your system?" "That's how the process works," Boone answers. "You know that." Carson walks to the door. His hand rests on the knob. He doesn't look back. "The process is broken, Randall," he says quietly. "And I'm going to prove it." He steps into the hallway, closing the door gently behind him. Somehow the soft click feels worse than a slam. At 11:40 p.m. Carson sits in his truck in the jail parking lot, phone in hand. He makes 3 calls. First is to his personal attorney, a graying bulldog named Martin Davis. "Marty, I need you at the county jail in 30 minutes. Carson says. "Client's Marcus Reed. Held on a warrant that's physically impossible." Davis groans. "Rob, it's nearly midnight. I can read a clock." Carson replies. 30 minutes. This is my daughter's fiancé, and a dirty arrest." Davis sighs. "All right, I'm coming." Davis arrives at 12:15 a.m., jacket thrown over his shoulder. He meets Marcus in a small consultation room, yellowish walls, metal table, 2 chairs that wobble. They talk for 45 minutes. Marcus walks him through the bid process, every form, every certification, every timeline. Davis jots notes furiously. He studies the warrant copy, spots the timestamp in seconds. At 12:55 a.m. He steps into the hallway and dials a judge. "Your Honor, sorry to wake you." He begins, contacting Senior Judge Pauline West, the weekend duty judge. He lays it all out. The impossible time, the wedding spectacle, the public humiliation. Judge West is not pleased about a 1 a.m. call, but she has a reputation for being meticulous and fair. "Bring me the original warrant," she says, "and a printed copy of Judge Preston's schedule. Chambers, Sunday, 8 a.m., sharp." "Thank you, Your Honor," Davis says. "Don't thank me yet," she replies. "If this is what it looks like, somebody's career is over." Sunday morning, June 16th. Marcus has spent roughly 14 hours in custody, still wearing the same wrinkled tux. No shower, almost no food, 0 real sleep. At 8:15 a.m., he's not in the room, but decisions about his life are unfolding in Judge West's panelled chambers. Shelves of law books, flags in the corner, coffee cooling on her desk. She reads the warrant slowly, then pulls up the court calendar on her screen. Her expression darkens line by line. Judge Preston was in Glenville presiding over Stevens versus Riverside County from 2 to 3:45 p.m. on June 15th. She says, "I'm looking at his docket right now. Public record." Her eyes move to Lieutenant Hart, summoned to explain. "Lieutenant Hart, tell me how Judge Preston signed this warrant at 2:49 while sitting on the bench 25 miles away." Hart's face is unreadable. "Your Honor, I received this warrant from the District Attorney's office through standard channels. I executed it as written. Verifying a judge's signature is not my responsibility. That's on judicial staff." West's voice sharpens. "The lawfulness of your arrest absolutely is your responsibility, Lieutenant." Hart doesn't flinch. "The warrant appeared legitimate when I got it. Judge's signature, case number, court seal, standard format. I had no reason to question it." Judge West swivels to Assistant District Attorney Catherine Cole. "Ms. Cole, explain this." Cole shifts in her seat. "Your Honor, I'll need time to determine what happened. This warrant passed through our usual procedures. If there's a timestamp error, this is not a simple timestamp error." West interrupts. "We are talking about physical impossibility. Preston could not sign in Riverside while holding court in Glenville. That's not a typo. That's fraud." Carson speaks from near the door. "Your Honor, I'm formally requesting Marcus Reed's immediate release. The warrant is fraudulent. The arrest is invalid." Cole jumps in. "Even if there's some timing issue, the underlying charges still stand. Mr. Reed is actively being investigated for falsifying information on a county bid." Davis leans forward. "Specifically what information?" he asks. "What exactly do you claim he falsified?" Cole scans her notes, stalling. "Those details are part of our ongoing investigation. I can't disclose them." "You can't disclose because nothing exists." Davis counters. He slides a thick folder across the table. "Here is every document Reed submitted for the library project. Permits, certifications, financial disclosures, references, all vetted by the county's evaluation team. All legitimate. I had an independent forensic accountant go through everything last night. No discrepancies, no cooked books, nothing." Judge West reads. 10 slow minutes tick by. Pages rustle. No one speaks. Finally, she closes the folder. "I'm releasing Mr. Reed on his own recognizance, effective immediately," she says, "pending a full inquiry into how this warrant was created." She looks at Cole. "Miss Cole, I want a detailed report on my desk by Wednesday. Explain who requested this warrant, who drafted it, who signed it, and how that impossible timestamp ended up there. Lieutenant Hart, you are to have no further contact with Mr. Reed unless substantial new evidence appears." She turns toward Carson. "Sheriff, I understand your personal stake, but I need you to let formal channels do their work." Carson straightens. "With respect, Your Honor, a bogus warrant was used by my agency. That's my mess. It's directly within my duty to investigate what happened. West studies him. Fine, but the moment I learn you're obstructing the criminal side of this, I will hold you in contempt. Understood? Understood, Your Honor, he says. At 9:15 a.m., Marcus steps into the blinding Sunday sunshine outside the jail. Davis stands by the door. Sheriff Carson waits nearby. Emily is already there. Torn makeup, yesterday's dress traded for jeans and a hoodie. The instant she spots Marcus, she bolts across the pavement and crashes into him, arms around his neck. They hold each other in the parking lot, clinging like life preservers. No one speaks. They don't need to. After a long moment, Carson approaches, hat in his hands. Marcus, I'm sorry, he says quietly. This never should have happened. To you or anyone. Marcus sees the uniform, the father, the man split down the middle. It's not your fault, sir, Marcus says. You didn't sign that paper. Carson shakes his head. It happened under my badge, in my county. That makes it mine, and I'm going to fix it. Emily looks between them. What happens now, Dad? She asks, voice raw. Carson's answer is steady. Now we figure out who did this, and we make damn sure they answer for it. Monday, June 17th, another battlefield, a newsroom. Investigative reporter Rachel Vega sits at her cluttered desk at the Riverside Chronicle. Nearly 17 years digging into corruption, 2 major exposés, 1 state journalism award. She replays the wedding arrest video, lips pressed thin. Something's off. She files public records requests. By Tuesday, she has county contract data. A spreadsheet shows 67 contracts since 2019. Preston Builders landed 60 of them, 89%, totaling $12.3 million. Before 2019, they won about 40%. After 2019, nearly everything. What changed? She pulls personnel records. Public info. March 2019, Lieutenant Colin Hart promoted to head of patrol. The same window where Preston's win rate spikes. Wednesday morning, she meets Marcus at a diner booth and spreads printouts between the coffee cups. I cross-checked Hart's arrest history with county awards, she explains. Every time he busted a minority contractor, Preston Builders snagged that project afterward. Marcus stares at the table, stunned. This isn't bad luck, he says quietly. It's a machine. Rachel nods. Look, Malcolm Willis, electrician, arrested June 2021. Preston gets the fire station job. Isaiah Jordan, plumber, arrested August 2020. Preston wins the school renovation. Terence Dean, concrete contractor, arrested November 2022. Preston lands the bridge repair. She flips another page. 6 minority-owned firms total. Same pattern every time. Wednesday afternoon, Rachel files a public records request for county emails. Search terms. Preston Hart bid contract. The county drags its feet. Her paper's lawyer threatens a lawsuit. On Thursday, the county caves and dumps 8,000 emails on her. She spends half the night reading. Friday morning she finds the gold. An email from Hart to Alan Preston dated June 10th. Subject: Target flagged. Body: Reed Civil scored 94 out of 100. Too high. Need to fast-track usual process. A follow-up dated June 12th. Warrant request filed. Judge Preston handling. Friday ceremony best for maximum impact. A third on June 14th. All set. 4:39 p.m. tomorrow. Have your crew ready for library start July 1st. Rachel's hands shake as she scrolls. This wasn't random. It was scripted. Saturday, she forwards the emails to Lisa Monroe. They meet in Monroe's office. Lisa reads, eyes hardening. This is a conspiracy, she says flatly. We need Hart's financial records. Monroe adds, think we can pry them loose? With a federal civil rights lawsuit. Rachel replies, discovery gives us subpoena power. Monday, Monroe files suit. Marcus Reed v. Colin Hart, Preston Builders, and Riverside County. The dam breaks. The emails hit the public docket. The coverage ignites again. By Thursday, Discovery yields Hart's banking data. 8 mysterious deposits into an offshore account, $43,250 each, totaling $346,000. Each deposit arrives within 2 weeks of Preston winning a major county contract. Friday, Rachel publishes the bombshell. Headline: Lieutenant took $346K in kickbacks to target black contractors. 300,000 views in 6 hours. Carson reads the article at his desk, jaw set. He sees the names, the numbers, his department, his responsibility. He picks up the phone and calls the FBI field office in Atlanta. "I need to report corruption," he says. "My officers and a circuit judge are involved. We need federal eyes." The agent's tone changes instantly. "We'll have a team there Monday," she promises. Monday, July 1st. Marcus arrives at his office to find a notice taped crooked on the door. State Licensing Board. Contractor license. Suspended pending investigation. All active contracts frozen. By 10 a.m., both major clients have called to terminate. School district, $290,000 gone. Hospital, $680,000 gone. 60% of projected annual revenue evaporates before lunch. By noon, 3 employees quit, eyes apologetic but resolute. "We've got kids, mortgages, we can't gamble our futures," one says. By 2, Marcus sits alone in the quiet office, surrounded by rolled-up blueprints and dark computer screens. 3 years of sweat and sacrifice crumble in a single business day. Tuesday, Chief Boone faces cameras at a press conference flanked by department flags. "Internal Affairs has found no evidence of misconduct by Lieutenant Hart," he announces. "He remains on active duty." Marcus watches a clip on a borrowed phone, disbelief turning to fury. Wednesday, an unknown number calls. A low, distorted voice warns, "Drop the lawsuit. Walk away. You don't understand how deep this goes." Marcus relays it to Carson. The sheriff orders patrol units to cruise Marcus's street and Emily's apartment. He doesn't pretend it's paranoia. Thursday, Emily's school board pulls her into a tense meeting. Afterwards, she calls Marcus, voice ragged. "Parents complained. They're moving me out of the classroom. No more teaching, just administrative work." Friday, Marcus's bank calls about his equipment loan. $68,000 due in 30 days, or they repossess every truck, every excavator, every tool. That night, Emily shows up at his place, eyes red. "This was supposed to be the best month of our lives," she whispers. "Instead, we're watching everything fall apart." Outside, the patrol car idles quietly at the curb. Inside, the future they built together feels like it's collapsing in slow motion. Saturday, July 6th, 2:30 a.m. Marcus sits on the same lakeside pier where he proposed, shoes off, feet dangling over dark water. He's thinking about disappearing, starting over somewhere no one knows his name. Emily finds him, settles beside him without a word. They sit with the chirp of insects and soft slap of waves. Finally, he says, "I called Malcolm Willis, the electrician Hart nailed in 2021. He told me to run. Said fighting cost him everything. Now he drives trucks in Alabama." Marcus glances at her. "Do you want to run?" He thinks about his father, about the day Leonard came home fired, shoulders slumped, spirit gone. "He gave up," Marcus says quietly. "Worked himself into the ground and died at 54. I promised myself I'd never let them break me like that." Emily squeezes his hand. "This isn't just your father's story," she says. "It's every black man who tried to build something and watched it get taken. Whether we stay or run, the system keeps going. But you're not just some symbol. You're my person. You matter to me. Is that enough to keep you here?" Sunday morning, Carson sits at his kitchen table with a stack of old files. Every complaint ever lodged against Hart since 2017. 12 in total. All dismissed. Same internal investigator. Same supervising captain. A circle protecting itself. He calls Malcolm Willis. "I'm sorry," Carson says. "I should have dug deeper years ago." Malcolm's reply is bitter. "If you really want to fix it, Sheriff, you burn the whole thing down. Everyone who knew, including you." The line goes dead, leaving Carson staring at his own reflection in the dark window. Tuesday, July 9th, Malcolm calls Marcus back. "I saw the emails, the bank records. I'm done hiding. I'll testify." That afternoon, Isaiah Jordan phones. "Whatever you need, I'm in." Then Terrence Dean. "Count me too." By Wednesday, all 6 targeted contractors have reached out, ready to stand publicly. Thursday, Rachel publishes another piece. 6 victims, 1 system. Subtitle, How Riverside's Machine Crushed Minority Contractors. 5 million views in 24 hours. Friday night, local pastors and organizers host a town hall at New Hope AME Church. Building capacity is 300. Nearly 450 people pack the sanctuary. Folding chairs line the aisles. Some stand in back. Malcolm speaks first. I ran, he admits. I thought I had no choice. Marcus showed me we do. I'm done running. Marcus speaks last. The room goes quiet. They did this to make an example, he says, voice steady. To tell us, stay in your lane. Don't challenge the old guard. I'm not going back to my place. I'm staying in this fight. The sanctuary erupts. Applause, shouts, people on their feet. By Sunday, a petition demanding federal intervention and local reform has 2,300 signatures. Monday morning, organizers deliver it to the County Commission, FBI, and Justice Department. Tuesday, Officer Jenny Blake walks into Lisa Monroe's office, uniform neatly pressed, eyes haunted. I want immunity, she says. Monroe calls the FBI immediately. Agents arrive within the hour. In a conference room, Blake admits what she's seen. I knew Hart was dirty, she says. I took pictures of his bank statements. She slides a folder across the table. Printed screenshots. 8 suspicious deposits highlighted. One agent flips through and mutters, "This changes everything." Wednesday, July 17th, federal agents move. At 6:15 a.m., FBI teams fan out to 8 locations. They hit Hart's house, Preston Builders' offices, Judge Preston's chambers, and several county storage sites. Computers are boxed. Hard drives, phones, paper files, all seized. Thursday, an audio recording leaks, 18 minutes of Hart and Alan Preston talking in Preston's pickup back in March. On the tape, Hart grumbles, "This Reed guy scored 94. Too clean." Preston chuckles. "Then invent something. That's what Frankie's for." Hart laughs. "Your brother's handy." Preston answers, "Family business. Frankie signs papers, you make arrests, I get contracts, and we split the take." The connection snaps into focus. Judge Franklin Preston and contractor Alan Preston, brothers running a racket. Friday, the FBI announces 12 arrests. Hart on 12 counts, including bribery and civil rights violations. Alan Preston on 9 counts. Judge Preston on 15. Rachel posts the full transcript. 6 million reads in 8 hours. Comments erupt. They bragged about destroying lives, one person writes. Another, and they thought Carson would never do anything. Joke's on them. Monday, August the 2nd. The County Commission holds an emergency hearing. Chamber seats 300, but 500 residents crowd inside. Cameras everywhere. Marcus speaks first. "I was arrested at my wedding because I won a contract fairly," he says. "But this stopped being just about me a long time ago. 6 black-owned companies were targeted for daring to compete." Malcolm, Isaiah, Terrence, and the others speak, each telling how an arrest shattered years of work. Lisa Monroe steps to the podium. "We're not only seeking damages," she says. "We're demanding change. Body cameras mandated, independent internal affairs, transparent bidding." And finally, Sheriff Carson takes the microphone, shoulders heavy. "I failed," he admits. "I should have seen this pattern sooner. That's on me. I'm calling for a full independent audit of every county contract since 2019, every arrest Hart made, every warrant bearing Preston's name. We don't tweak this system. We tear it down and rebuild it right." Commissioners retreat to deliberate. After a tense wait, they return and vote. Federal investigation? Yes. Police reform package? Yes. Contract review? Yes. 6 votes in favor, 1 abstention. The room explodes in cheers. Justice delayed isn't justice denied, at least not this time. Outside, reporters swarm Marcus. He doesn't give them a speech, just a simple statement. "We're getting married," he says, fingers intertwined with Emily's. Quietly, just us, the way it should have been. 3 months later, sentencing comes down. Hart gets 12 years in federal prison. Alan Preston receives 10. Judge Franklin Preston earns 15 for corruption and civil rights violations. Marcus and Emily marry at the courthouse. No fanfare. Small ceremony, tight circle, just family. Darius as witness, Carson in a plain suit, Evelyn in a simple dress. No string quartet, no elaborate flowers, just vows, signatures, a kiss, and a promise to keep walking together. Reed Civil Engineering begins to rebuild slowly. 3 new clients sign on, small jobs at first, then more. Reputation, once shattered, starts knitting back together, line by honest line. The 6 contractors, Marcus, Malcolm, Isaiah, Terence, and 2 others, form the Reed Initiative, a non-profit designed to protect and uplift minority-owned businesses. They set up a legal defense fund, mentorship programs, and training sessions on contracts and compliance. Carson announces he won't seek another term. 33 years is enough, he says, to spend his days with his daughter and grandkids, to heal what he can. The county's system isn't perfect now, but it's different. Body cameras are mandatory. Internal affairs answers to a civilian board. Bidding processes are transparent, meetings recorded and posted online. 1 wedding was destroyed. A dozen careers imploded. 1 crooked network got dragged into the light. People finally see Marcus as more than a man on his knees in a viral clip. They see his work, his courage, his refusal to disappear. Stories like his matter. Share them. Talk about them. Justice isn't a moment. It's a fight that continues. Wednesday, July 17th. Dawn breaks, and federal agents roll out before most of Riverside has poured coffee. At 6:15 a.m., unmarked SUVs slide to curbs at 8 locations at once. Hart's split-level ranch, Preston Builders' chrome and glass office, Judge Franklin Preston's paneled chambers, county record storage, a bank branch. Doors crash open. Computers, phones, and files vanish into evidence boxes. Neighbors stand on lawns in pajamas, filming the fall of men they once envied. By afternoon, something even more explosive leaks. 18 minutes of audio, Hart and Alan Preston riding in Preston's pickup one grey March morning. On the recording, Hart gripes that Marcus scored a 94, too clean. Preston chuckles, says, "That's what Frankie's for." They laugh about the family business. Franklin signs papers, Hart makes arrests, Alan lands contracts. They split the payoff. The internet hears every word, and denial becomes ridiculous overnight. Friday, the FBI announces a wave of arrests. Cameras catch Hart led from his driveway in handcuffs, head bowed for once. He's hit with 12 federal counts: bribery, wire fraud, civil rights violations. Alan Preston faces 9 counts tied to kickbacks and bid rigging. Judge Franklin Preston collects 15, including corruption and abuse of power. Rachel posts the full audio transcript. 6 million reads in 8 hours. Comment sections explode like fireworks over a smoldering town. Monday, August the 2nd. The county commission chambers jam beyond capacity. 300 seats, 500 people squeezing into every aisle and corner, cameras stacked on tripods. Marcus speaks first, explaining how a public contract fairly won turned into a wedding day takedown. Malcolm, Isaiah, Terence, and the others follow, each story another gut punch. Lisa Monroe outlines reforms, mandatory body cams, independent internal affairs, transparent bidding. Then Sheriff Carson steps up to the microphone, shoulders visibly carrying decades. "I failed," he tells them plainly. "I should have seen the pattern. That's on me." He calls for a top-to-bottom audit of every contract since 2019, every arrest Hart touched, every warrant bearing Preston's name. "We don't patch this," he says. "We tear it down and rebuild it right." Commissioners retreat, confer, return. They vote. Yes to federal review, yes to reform, yes to contract audits. 6 ayes, 1 nervous abstention. The crowd erupts, roaring approval. Outside on the courthouse steps, microphones thrust forward, reporters shouting questions. Marcus doesn't deliver a speech. He just laces his fingers through Emily's and says, "We're finally going to get married. Quiet, small, just us. The way it should have been from the start." A ripple of soft laughter, then applause. No string quartet, no aisle this time. Just a clerk, a judge, close family, and vows spoken without cameras. Healing begins in something simple and private. 3 months later, sentencing lands. Hart gets 12 years in federal prison. Alan Preston receives 10. Judge Franklin Preston earns 15, his robe traded for an orange jumpsuit. Marcus and Emily have already had their courthouse wedding. Darius signing as witness, Evelyn tearing up in the front row, Carson standing proudly in a plain suit. Reed Civil Engineering, once nearly destroyed, starts to climb back. New contracts, cautious clients, each job another brick in his reclaimed reputation. The 6 targeted contractors form the Reed Initiative, a support network for minority-owned businesses, legal defense grants, mentorship, workshops on public bids. Carson announces he will not seek re-election. 33 years is enough, he says. It's time to spend days with his daughter's family and help from the sidelines. The system isn't perfect now, but it is different. Body cams mandated, civilian oversight in place, contract processes public. One wedding lost, one rotten empire exposed. The fight goes on. Lesson 1. Evil can hide behind by the book. If you're 65 or older, you've lived long enough to know that wrong doesn't always come wearing a ski mask. Sometimes it walks in wearing a pressed uniform and says, "I'm just doing my job." What happened to Marcus at that altar in Georgia feels like something many of you have seen before. Different decade, different town, same quiet cruelty. A fake warrant, a rigged system, a black man in cuffs on the day he was supposed to say, "I do." For those who remember segregated waiting rooms and news clips from Birmingham and Selma, this isn't new. The details have changed. The pattern hasn't. The lesson is painful but clear. Never assume official means honest. Even at 70 or 80, your voice still matters when something smells wrong. Lesson 2. Courage doesn't retire, and it's contagious. Another lesson for those in their later years. Courage isn't just for the young. Look at Sheriff Carson, a man in his 60s with 3 decades in uniform. At first, he froze in that aisle, torn between his badge and his daughter's tears. Many of you know that feeling, caught between duty and family. But when he saw that impossible timestamp, he chose truth over comfort. Then a reporter dug in. A civil rights lawyer filed suit. A young officer broke the blue wall, and 6 beaten-down contractors decided to stand together instead of running. One brave act lit the next, like porch lights coming on up and down a dark street. That's how change has always started in America. One person saying, "Enough," and someone else whispering, "Me too." Lesson 3. What you build after the wreck is your legacy. Older Americans understand better than anyone that life can be shattered in a single day. A diagnosis, a layoff, a phone call at midnight, or a wedding turned into a spectacle on social media. But what you choose to build afterward is the story that lasts. Marcus lost contracts, employees, sleep, and peace. Emily lost her classroom, her simple dreams of a quiet wedding. Yet together they rebuilt. A small courthouse ceremony, a second start for Reed Civil Engineering, the Reed Initiative to protect other small, minority-owned businesses. And Sheriff Carson, instead of clinging to power, chose to step down and help repair what was broken. If you're in your 70s or 80s, maybe that's the question for you too. In these years you've got left, what kind of system? What kind of country do you want to help leave behind for the kids and grandkids who will inherit it? Friends, after walking through Marcus and Emily's story, an arrest at the altar, a fake warrant, a corrupt family business finally dragged into the light, I'd love to hear from you, especially those of you 65 and older. If you were in Marcus's shoes, Would you have stayed and fought, or packed up and started over somewhere else? And if you were Sheriff Carson, would you have risked your career to expose the truth? Share your thoughts and your own experiences with injustice in the comments. Please like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next powerful story and lesson.